Cole Hartley had been holding the same cup of synth coffee long past the point where it could pretend to be warm. The Crossroads Cantina on Meridia Station was packed. Frontier Eve always did that. Traders elbowed through crowds to close last minute deals before the holiday shutdown. Miners with fresh bonus credits laughed too loudly and ordered the expensive stuff, just to prove they could. Families ferried yawning children toward the residential rings where the real celebrations waited. Music, food, light shows, and the sort of giddy optimism Cole no longer knew how to wear. Frontier Eve was supposed to be about beginnings, humanity's first settlement beyond the core, a reminder that the universe could be harsh and still hold room for wonder. Cole had stopped believing in wonder 3 years ago. Colored lights looped from exposed conduits overhead, washing the cantina in shifting gold, green, and deep crimson. Someone in station ops had gotten cute and programmed the environmental system to make snow, tiny flakes of recycled moisture that glittered as they fell and vanished. Before they hit a surface, kids shrieked as they tried to catch the flakes on their tongues, delighted every time the crystalline drops disappeared like magic. Cole wanted to be anywhere else. His communicator buzzed against his ribs, the third message in an hour from Dominic Reyes. Cole didn't even have to pull it out to know what it would say. Dom had been harassing him since he'd arrived, alternating between encouragement and threats with the manic determination of a man on a mission. Cole finally checked it, still sitting there looking miserable. "She's coming. Cole. Transport delays happen. Stop sulking." Cole typed back with stiff thumbs. "I'm not sulking. I'm being realistic. She's 41 minutes late." Dom's reply hit instantly. "And you were 11 minutes early because you're neurotic. By my math, she's only 30 minutes late. Relax." Cole stared at the message. "That's not how time works." "That's exactly how time works when you're trying to make your friend feel better about his blind date." Cole shoved the communicator back into his jacket and refused to respond. Dominic Reyes had been his best friend since basic training 22 years ago. They'd served together in the Colonial Defense Force, survived to border conflicts and a pirate uprising, stood as witnesses at each other's weddings. And for the last 6 months, Dom had turned getting Cole back into the land of the living into a personal crusade. This blind date was his latest weapon. 6 months ago, Dom had signed Cole up for an interspecies matching service called Starmatch, apparently reputable, apparently data-driven, apparently built to pair people by compatibility rather than appearance. Dom hadn't bothered to mention it until Cole received a cheerful notification announcing he'd been matched. "You're going," Dom had said during the argument that followed. "One date, one evening. You sit across from someone. You talk like a normal person. And then what?" Cole had snapped. "We live happily ever after because your algorithm says so." Dom had shrugged. "Then you see them again or you don't. It's not a marriage proposal." Cole had tried to refuse. Dom had leaned in and lowered his voice. "You had no right, Cole. Penny asked me to." That had stopped Cole cold. "Your daughter came to me last week," Dom had continued, and his tone had shifted into something careful and kind. "She found the frontier. Eve wish letter, the one she wrote for the station tradition. She said you found it first. She said you cried when you read it. And she wants you to know it's okay to be happy. Those were her exact words. Tell Daddy it's okay to be happy. So here Cole was, sitting in a cantina decorated like a Hollywood postcard, waiting for a stranger named Venari, whose profile Dom refused to show him. Trust me, Dom had said with an infuriating grin. She's perfect for you. Smart, caring, good sense of humor. And no, I'm not telling you her species. Where's the fun in that? Cole hadn't found anything fun about this situation for 41 minutes. The cantina door slid open and a gust of cooler corridor air rolled in. Cole looked up despite himself. A Thesari woman stepped inside. The Thesari were one of humanity's closest allies. In the sector, one of the few species humans found genuinely attractive by their own standards. Their evolution had taken a different path and still arrived at something strangely parallel, unmistakably alien, hauntingly familiar. This one was striking even among Thesari. Her silver-grey skin seemed to shimmer under the colored lights, like it held its own faint glow. Long black hair fell past her shoulders in a sleek cascade, glossy as polished obsidian. Elegant pointed ears swept upward from beneath the dark curtain. Her eyes were bright green, new-growth green with flecks that caught and held every beam of light in the room. She wore a fitted silver outfit that looked half ceremonial, half formal uniform, and she carried a small wrapped package in both hands as if it mattered. Their eyes met across the crowd. She smiled warm, real, a little nervous. Something in Cole's chest stuttered, like a heart that had forgotten how to do anything but ache. Then she walked right past his booth and headed toward a family group. Near the windows, of course, Cole watched her greet them, 2 adults, 3 children, all with the same silver skin and graceful ears. She laughed at something one of the kids said and bent down to listen, affection softening her features. Family, visiting for Frontier Eve, probably from Thesa Prime. The Thesari were famous for sprawling family networks. Cole checked the time. Again, 44 minutes. At what point did fashionably late become definitely not coming? He should leave. Pay for the cold coffee. Tell Dom it was a bust. Tell him never to do this again. His comm buzzed. Dom. Buddy. Just got a message from the matching service. Her shuttle broke down in the transit hub. She's been trying to reach you, but your profile has comm restrictions enabled. She's coming, but she'll be late. Cole blinked. He hadn't even realized he'd enabled restrictions. Had it been during setup, he couldn't remember. He typed, "How late? Unclear. She's trying to find alternate transport. She sounds stressed. Also, she brought you a gift, which is sweet, and you should appreciate it instead of being grumpy." Cole almost replied, "I'm not grumpy," but that was a lie, and Dom would call him on it. A Karelian waitress stopped by his booth. She was tall, nearly 6 feet deep, blue skin marked with clan patterns. Distinctive cranial ridges visible beneath her service cap. She had kind eyes, all 3 of them, and a wry smile that suggested she'd worked too many holiday shifts to be surprised by anything. "Another coffee, sweetheart?" she asked. already refilling his cup from a steaming carafe. "You're looking a little peaky. Is it that obvious?" Cole muttered. "Honey, I've been working Frontier Eve for 12 years. I can spot a man dreading a blind date from 3 sectors away." She nodded toward the door. "First time trying interspecies matching." Cole blinked. "How did you? You keep staring at the entrance like you're expecting something wonderful or terrible. And you can't decide which." Her middle eye winked. "Plus, I've seen 8 other people do the same thing tonight. Matching. Services spike before the holidays. Folks get lonely. Want someone to share the lights with." She patted his shoulder with a heavy blue hand. "Take it from someone who married 3 different species before finding the right one sometimes. The best things show up right after you've decided to stop hoping." Cole managed, "Thanks, I think." She glided away with a laugh, leaving him with fresh coffee and the faintest, most annoying thread of possibility. He lifted the cup to his lips, trying to convince himself he was only waiting because Dom would never let him live it down otherwise. A shadow fell across his booth. "Excuse me," a melodic voice said, vowels shaped by an accent he couldn't place. "Are you Cole Hartley?" Cole looked up and nearly dropped the cup. It was the Thesari woman. Up close, she looked slightly disheveled, something he hadn't noticed earlier. The hem of her outfit was stained as if she'd walked through a puddle. Her hair was pulled back now in a simple cord, like she'd fixed it in a hurry. She still held the wrapped package, though it looked a little battered, and her green eyes were bright with a mix of hope and mortification. "Ah, yes," Cole said, setting the cup down before his hands betrayed him. "That's me." "Oh, thank the endless." She exhaled hard, her shoulders sagging with relief. "I'm Venari Vorath. I am so incredibly sorry I'm late." Words spilled out of her in a flood. Her shuttle had broken down in the transit hub. A magnetic coupling failure. 38 minutes stuck in a bypass tunnel. Then her translator kept routing her to the Crossroads cargo bay instead of the Crossroads Cantina. She'd been trying to contact him, but the matching service said his profile had communication restrictions enabled. She hadn't known how to bypass them. "And I know you probably think I'm the most unreliable person in the galaxy," she finished, eyes wide. "I promise I'm usually." She made a helpless gesture, more competent. Cole's brain caught up in pieces. "Wait, you're my match. You're Venari." Her expression flickered with uncertainty. "Yes, from Starmatch. You did receive the notification?" "I did," Cole said, still stunned. "But you came in earlier. I saw you. You walked right past me." Venari's cheeks flushed with a pale blue tint, Thesari blushing. He realized. "That was my sister's family," she admitted quickly. "They're visiting from Thesa Prime for Frontier Eve and wanted to see me before my date. I thought I could greet them quickly since I was already late. But then my nephew scraped his knee and was crying so hard I couldn't leave. And my niece wanted to show me the dance she learned for the youth presentation. And my brother-in-law started asking about an academy position back on Prime." And she stopped, pressed her lips together, then groaned softly. "I'm rambling. I ramble when I'm nervous. I am extremely nervous." Cole stared at her, stunning, flustered. Incandescent even without the literal glow some Thesari were rumored to have. A woman who had fought through mechanical failure, translator errors, and surprise family obligations just to reach a blind date with a stranger. And something in him, something stiff and frozen for 3 years, cracked. He laughed, not the polite, hollow sound he'd been using since Rachel died. A real laugh that startled him with its depth. Venari blinked like she wasn't sure she'd heard correctly. "Sit down," Cole said, gesturing toward the seat across from him. "Please." Before you pass out, she slid into the booth with obvious relief. Up close, her face was even more remarkable, the lines of her features managing to be both alien and familiar, like a reflection seen through rippled water. The green in her eyes held flecks of gold that caught the cantina lights, and when she smiled there was an impish tilt at the corners that made her look suddenly mischievous. "I brought you something," she said, pushing the package toward him. "It is tradition among my people to bring a gift to the first meeting with a potential partner. Companion, I do not know the human word. Date, Cole supplied. We call it a date. Date," she repeated, tasting the word. "It seems inadequate for the significance, but perhaps simplicity has merit." She nodded at the package. "I researched human customs, but they were contradictory. One source said gifts on a first date are presumptuous. Another said expected. A third said humans prefer flowers, but the horticultural section is closed for the holiday." "It's not strange," Cole said, and he meant it. "It's thoughtful. May you open it?" Venari asked, suddenly shy. Cole unwrapped the paper carefully. It was metallic and woven with silver threads. Inside lay a compass old-fashioned in design, though clearly modern, with unfamiliar symbols etched around the rim. On the back, in careful standard lettering, were 3 words. "Find your way." Cole's throat tightened so fast. It felt like someone had grabbed him by the collar. Rachel used to say that. Before a tour, before a mission, they'd touch foreheads and whisper, "Find your way back to me." A private ritual. A promise against the black. She hadn't found her way back. 3 years ago, December 23rd by Old Earth calendar. Frontier Eve by Colony reckoning a pirate attack on Kepler outpost during the holiday celebrations. Rachel had been civilian support then, helping with medical evacuations. She'd gone back into the residential sector for a trapped child. She got the child out. She didn't make it out herself. Cole swallowed hard, blinking against a sudden sting. "This is beautiful," he managed. "Thank you." Venari's brows drew together in concern. "I have upset you." "No," Cole said quickly. "No, it's perfect. It just reminded me of someone." Understanding softened her face. "Your wife." Her voice held no pity, no awkwardness, only gentle directness. "The matching profile mentioned you were widowed," she added, cautious. "I hope it is acceptable that I know that. It was listed as a compatibility factor." "It's fine," Cole said, surprised to find it was true. Something in her tone made the topic easier to touch, like she wasn't afraid of the sharp edges. "Frontier Eve is hard for me. She died during it." Venari's eyes widened with quiet sympathy. "That must make these celebrations painful." "You could say that." Cole wrapped his hand around the coffee just to have something to hold. My daughter Penny is the only reason I go through the motions. She still believes in all the traditions, wishes, the idea the universe gives good things to good people. Venari hesitated, then reached across the table and touched the back of his hand. With two fingertips, her skin was warmer than his heat seeping into him like sunlight through a crack. My mother died during the Festival of Light, Venari said softly, 2 years ago. It is the most sacred celebration on Thesari Prime, when we honor the star that gives our world life and remember those who have passed into the light. I have not been able to attend one since. I'm sorry, Cole said, and meant it. Thank you. Her fingers remained on his hand, light but steady. My brother Tellen keeps telling me I cannot hide from happiness forever. He says our mother would want me to live, not merely exist. A small, sad smile. He is very wise for someone who cannot remember to clean his sleeping pod. Cole felt something shift recognition, kinship. My daughter told me something like that, he admitted. She wants me to smile for real again. Then perhaps we were both sent here by children wiser than we deserve, Venari said. And her thumb traced a slow, soothing circle on his skin. They talked for 3 hours. Not small talk. Not the careful, surface-level conversation Cole had expected. They spoke about grief like it was a landscape they both knew by heart, the way it hollowed you out, left you moving through days like a ghost pretending to be a person. The guilt of surviving, the irrational fear that laughing meant betraying the dead. Venari told him about being 24 and suddenly responsible for a 12-year-old boy, full of rage and night terrors. She'd taken every shift she could, learned to cook for 2, helped him with modules and social struggles, and put her own ambitions on hold because someone had to hold him up. And I told myself I did not mind, she admitted, because he needed me. But some nights I wondered if I would ever be more than his caretaker. Cole understood too well. Penny had been 6 when Rachel died, old enough to know Mommy wasn't coming home. Too young to understand why. She'd cried for weeks. Then she'd stopped crying and started watching him, worrying about him, carrying his grief like it was her job. I hate that, Cole confessed. I hate that my pain became another burden for her. That is not weakness, Venari said firmly. That is healing. Speaking of them returns gradually, like sensation returning to a limb that has been numb. Some days are better than others. When Venari finally glanced at the time, she looked torn. I should go. Tellen will assume I have been kidnapped by pirates. Cole snorted. Penny is staying with my neighbor tonight, but she'll demand a full report in the morning. Venari smiled, then grew serious. This was not what I expected. Good or bad? Cole asked, suddenly afraid of the answer. Good, she said, and the word landed with startling weight. Very good. Something bright flickered beneath her silver skin, so faint at first. He thought it was a trick of the cantina lights. Then the glow strengthened into a soft luminescence, as if she were lit from within. Venari noticed him staring and went still. The blue blush returned. Oh, She pulled her hand back and pressed her palm to her cheek like she could smother the light. That is embarrassing. What is it? Cole asked, gentle. When Thesari's skin illuminates during conversation, she said, voice small, it indicates genuine emotional connection. Feeling safe, feeling seen. She looked away, mortified. It is considered somewhat inappropriate to display so openly on a first date. Cole stared at the glow, the warmth, the honesty, and felt something in his chest crack again. Wider this time. Don't apologize, he said. It's beautiful. He walked her to the transit hub. The station corridors had quieted as celebrations wound down, families drifting home, with sleepy children and satisfied smiles. The artificial snow still drifted from ceiling vents, sparkling in the soft light. At the departure gates they faced each other, reluctant. I'd like to see you again, Cole said. If you're interested. I am interested, Venari said, her skin still glowing faintly despite her obvious effort to control it. Though I must warn you I come with a teenage brother who will interrogate you about your intentions. He is protective. Cole's mouth quirked. And I come with a 9-year-old who will ask you to move in by the end of the first dinner. She has no filter. Venari laughed a sound like musical bells. Or maybe that was Cole's suddenly foolish brain. Then perhaps we are evenly matched. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead gently against his, intimate in a way that made Cole go perfectly still. Her scent was floral and unfamiliar, like jasmine mixed with morning fog. Thesari greeting, she murmured, or farewell. It means, I share this moment with you. I like it. Cole whispered. Good, she said, pulling back with bright eyes. Because I intend to do it again. For the first time in 3 years. The ache in Cole's chest felt less like a wound and more like hope. The next 3 weeks were the best he'd had since Rachel died. They met whenever schedules allowed between his cargo runs and her brutal medical shifts. When they couldn't meet, they sent voice notes and messages, learning each other in fragments. Cole learned she was allergic to a common human additive and had to be careful at human restaurants. Venari learned Cole believed any music released after 28.95 was noise without soul. She sang softly to herself when she thought. No one listened. He kept a photo of Rachel in his jacket pocket not to dwell. But because love didn't vanish just because grief tried to bury it. Penny met Venari on their 4th date and declared her the prettiest person in the whole entire galaxy, including Holovid stars. Venari knelt without hesitation, asked serious questions about Penny's xenobiology homework, and produced a holographic projector that could display internal anatomy for 200 species. You can borrow it, Venari told Penny, if you promise to care for it. Penny was devoted forever. Talon's interrogation happened on the 5th date dinner at Venari's quarters, labeled casual, executed like a ceremony. Talon planted himself in the doorway with crossed arms and narrowed eyes. Features sharper than Venari's, suspicion sharpened into a weapon. So, he said flatly, you're the human. I am, Cole said, resisting the urge to offer a hand. You must be Talon. And you're old, Talon added. Talon, Venari called from the kitchen. Horrified, Cole laughed. Under his breath, 42, he said agreeably. And you're the brother who thinks no one is good enough for his sister. Tellin's glare wavered into grudging respect. She's all I have left, he said, voice tightening. Our mother died. Our father abandoned us. Venari raised me. She gave up everything. If you're here for entertainment, if you waste her time and then disappear, Cole kept his voice calm. I lost my wife, he said, 3 years ago. I'm raising my daughter alone. I'm not here to take your sister away from you. If anything, I'm hoping you might consider sharing her. Tellin blinked, posture faltering. And I've got a 9-year-old who's already decided you're going to be her best friend, Cole added. Whether you like it or not. Tellin's expression shifted when Cole mentioned Penny. She found my compositions. He admitted reluctantly, the ones I post anonymously, she plays them on repeat. Cole smiled. She thinks you'll be famous someday. By the end of dinner, Tellin was showing Penny his synthesizer collection over video call while Penny shouted that's so cool, loud enough to distort the speaker. On Venari's balcony, looking out at stars sliding past the viewport as the ring rotated, Venari leaned against Cole's shoulder. I'm terrified, she admitted, that the universe will decide I'm too happy and take it away. Me too, Cole said quietly. Every day. Venari turned to face him. Then perhaps we can be scared together. She kissed him, first careful at first, then braver because she'd researched it, she'd said. Because she wanted to do it right for humans. Her lips were cooler than his, her skin silk smooth under his hands. When she pulled back she was glowing, radiance blooming across her like sunrise. Was that acceptable? She asked, breathless. Cole swallowed. Considerably more than acceptable. And then, for days before the new year, everything threatened to shatter. Cole was in his office, buried in cargo manifests, when Venari sent a priority message. Call me. Her face appeared on the screen, tear-streaked, silver, skin blotchy, eyes red-rimmed with devastation. There is a position, she said, voice breaking. Thesari Medical Academy on Prime, head of Interspecies Medicine. It is the most prestigious posting in my field. Cole's stomach dropped before she even finished. Prime is 8 months travel, he said, already knowing. I know. She pressed her palm to her eyes. They've recruited me for a year. I kept refusing because of Tellin, because of work, because staying meant I did not have to admit what I wanted. Now the offer was real. Double salary, full benefits, Tellin's educational fund covered. And Venari couldn't justify saying no when it secured his future. So you're leaving, Cole said, voice thin. I don't know, Venari whispered. 2 months ago the answer would have been obvious. Now all I can think is I promised Penny I'd come to her school presentation next week. I don't know how I'll sleep without knowing you're only a few decks away. I finally found something good, Cole, and now I have to choose between the life I built and the life I want. Cole wanted to fight for her, to tell her she deserved happiness, that Tellin would understand, that there had to be another way. But he knew the gravity of responsibility, the way parenthood rewrote your bones. When do you have to decide? He asked. Formal offer comes New Year's Day. I must answer within 48 hours. Penny sobbed when Cole told her. Not quiet tears, full body, gasping grief. But she promised. Penny cried. She promised she'd teach me Thesari biology. She promised she'd come to my presentation. She promised she'd make you happy. Sometimes people have to leave, Cole said, holding her while his own chest cracked. Even when they don't want to. Penny's face hardened through tears. Stubbornness Rachel had carved into her. That's not fair, she whispered, fiercely. Why does everyone I love have to leave? New Year's Eve arrived like a funeral dressed in glitter. Cole sat in his quarters, countdown feeds running in the background without meaning, waiting for Venari's decision. He tried to be supportive, tried to tell her he understood while privately feeling like he stood on a cliff's edge, watching the ground crumble. A chime at his door. He ignored it, assuming a neighbor with unwanted holiday cheer. The chime came again, insistent. Cole dragged himself up and opened the door. Venari stood in the corridor with a small travel case. Behind her, Tellen hovered nervous, determined, hands shoved in jacket pockets. I need to tell you something, Venari said, exhaustion and resolve tangling in her voice. I was going to say yes. Cole's heart sank. I drafted the acceptance, she continued. I told myself it was right, responsible. The thing my mother would want for Tellen's future. She stepped inside, and then my brother showed me something. Tellen activated a holo display. A letter, dated 3 days ago, addressed to the Academy Admissions Committee. It was blunt, furious, loving. Tellen wrote that recruiting Venari would force her to choose between career and happiness, and he refused to let her sacrifice herself anymore. He listed what she'd done. Double shifts until she could barely stand, selling their mother's jewelry to pay fees, making her life a shrine to his future. And then he wrote the truth he'd finally learned to say. She deserved more than caretaking. She deserved love, a family, dreams without guilt. Find another candidate. He'd ended. My sister is staying where she belongs. Cole stared at the letter, then at Tellen, then at Venari, who looked caught between laughter and tears. He sent it without telling me, Venari said, voice shaking. The Academy called. They said they were honored by the family's candor and wished me well. You could have had everything, Cole said to Tellen, stunned. The fund, the connections. Tellen lifted his chin. I do not want those things if they make her miserable. She is my sister, not my servant. He glanced away, embarrassed. Also, Penny said she would never forgive me if I let her, almost stepmother, leave. And honestly, that child is terrifying when she's determined. Venari grabbed Cole's hands, gripped tight. Her skin was glowing so brightly it could have lit the room. I'm not going, she said. I'm staying. If you'll still have me, if you'll still have us, I am choosing this. I am choosing you. Cole kissed her right there in the doorway, behind them. Tellen made exaggerated gagging noises loud enough to carry into the hall. Cole didn't care. When they finally pulled apart, Venari was luminous with joy. Yes, Cole said. Forehead pressed to hers. The answer is yes. Penny burst through the connecting door from the neighbor's quarters, having clearly heard everything. She stopped dead at the sight, Venari glowing. Cole wrecked with relief. Talon pretending to be disgusted while blinking to Hard. Are we going to be a family now? Penny demanded. For real, for real. Cole promised. Venari knelt, took Penny's small hands in hers. I promise, she said. I do not break promises, especially not to family. Penny launched herself into Venari so hard they both toppled backward, and Cole caught them before they hit the floor. Talon tried to keep his teenage dignity intact, but Cole still caught him wiping at his eyes when he thought no one watched. On the feeds, the countdown to the new year began. Somewhere on the station, people cheered and clinked glasses. In Cole's quarters, a different kind of celebration took root. Messy, loud, fragile, real. 2 months later, on the anniversary of their first meeting, Cole took them back to the Crossroads Cantina. Same booth, same lights, same artificial snow. The Karelian waitress saw them, Cole and Venari with foreheads pressed together, Penny and Talon bickering over the menu like siblings, and smiled her three-eyed smile. Told you so, sweetheart, she said. Penny was lecturing Talon about emotional resonance in his latest composition, wielding the phrase like a weapon. Talon rolled his eyes but listened. Venari squeezed Cole's hand. I was thinking, she murmured, about that night. When I walked in and saw you sitting here looking like you wanted to be anywhere else in the galaxy. I thought you weren't coming, Cole admitted. I thought I'd have to tell Penny the universe was out of miracles. Frontier Eve miracles. Venari corrected with a soft smile. Frontier Eve miracles. Cole agreed. Venari pulled a small box from her pocket. I have another gift. You really do have a problem with gifts, Cole muttered, but his voice was fond. Inside the box was a ring, a simple silver band inlaid with a deep purple stone threaded with gold veins that seemed to pulse with inner light. Promise stone, Venari said, voice trembling. When two people exchange them, it means forever. Family. Cole's heart kicked hard. He reached into his own pocket and produced a matching box. When he opened it, Venari's eyes went wide. I was going to ask you first, he said, but it seems we had the same idea. She laughed through tears. Cole slid the ring onto her finger. Venari did the same for him. Across the table, Penny squealed so loudly heads turned. Does this mean you're getting married? Penny demanded. Are we a real family for real? Can I be the flower girl? I call flower girl. What about me? Talon protested, sulk cracking into a grin. I should have an important role, too. You can be the flower boy, Penny declared instantly. There is no such thing as a flower boy. There is now, Penny said smugly. I invented it. Cole and Venari just stared at each other, grinning like the idiots they apparently were, while their kids argued with the fierce enthusiasm of people who finally believed the future could hold good things. Venari leaned close, her skin glowing silver, eyes bright, ready to find our way. Cole drew the compass from his jacket pocket, the one she'd given him that first night, the one he'd carried ever since. The words on the back caught. The light. Find your way. He pressed his thumb over the engraving and felt, for the first time in years, something solid under his ribs. Not just hope, a foundation. Already did. he said softly, already home. When he kissed his future wife, the cantina broke into applause, strangers clapping for strangers, because Frontier Eve did that too. People, because sometimes a crowded room could still make space for a miracle. Outside the windows, Meridia Station rotated through the endless dark, carrying its cargo of lives and loves and second chances toward whatever came next. And inside, Cole Hartley, who had once sat alone in a corner booth convinced he'd been abandoned finally, understood that some endings weren't endings at all. Sometimes they were beginnings in disguise. All you had to do was keep showing up, keep the promises that mattered, choose hope over fear, and trust that the right person might walk through the door exactly when they were meant to, almost an hour late, carrying a gift that changed everything, glowing with a light that said, I see you, I choose you, I'm staying.